In this video, we will be looking at how to use XML Sitemaps to boost your SEO ranking. Using XML Sitemaps helps website owners and bloggers to boost their website SEO ranking. In this video, we will cover what an XML sitemap is, XML sitemap format, types of sitemaps, and XML sitemap best practice checklist. To start, let's look at what XML sitemap is. In simple terms, the XML sitemap is a list of your website URLs. It acts as a roadmap to tell search engines what content is available and how to use them. Looking at this image, the search engine will find all 9 pages in a sitemap with one visit to the sitemap file. On the website, it will have to jump through 5 internal links to find page 9. This ability of a sitemap to assist crawlers in fast indexation is especially important for websites that have thousands of pages or deep website architecture, frequently adding new pages, frequently changing content of existing pages, suffering from weak internal linking, and orphaned pages. Even though search engines can technically find your URL without it, including pages in a sitemap indicate that you consider them to be quality landing pages. While there is no guarantee that an XML sitemap will get your pages crawled, let alone indexed or ranked, submitting your sitemap to webmaster tools will increase your SEO ranking. Furthermore, let's look at XML sitemap formats. Looking at XML sitemap formats, let's consider this example. A single page site which uses available tags would have this type of XML sitemap. But how should SEO use each of these tags? Is all the metadata valuable? Let's explain the various tags in this picture to know which one is more valuable to use. The first tag to talk about is location tag. This tag is compulsory, contains the absolute canonical version of the URL location. It contains accurately reflects site protocol, that is HTTP or HTTPS, and if you have chosen to include or exclude www, which shows. For international websites, this is also where you can implement your href language handling by using the XHTML link attribute to indicate the language and region variant for each URL. You reduce page load time, which the other implementations of link elements in the head or HTTP headers can't offer. Using Yoast plugin is an epic post on hreflang. For those wanting to know more, you can check the description below on how to use Yoast plugin and how to install it. The second tag to talk about in this tutorial is last modified tag. This is an optional but highly recommended tag which is used to communicate the file's last modified date and time. An expert named John Moeller acknowledged that Google uses the last month metadata to understand when the pages has been changed in time and date and if it is necessary to be crawled. The last modified time is especially critical for content sites as it assists Google to understand that you are the original publisher of the content they are about to crawl. It is powerful to communicate freshness. But note, you need to be sure to update modification dates only when you have made meaningful changes to your content. Trying to trick search engines that your content is fresh by using plugins may result in Google penalty, as in losing traffic to your website. The third tag to talk about in this tutorial is change frequency tag. Once upon a time, this optional tag hinted how frequently content on the URL was expected to change to search engines. This expert named John Moeller has stated that change frequency doesn't really play that much of a role with sitemaps, and that it is much better to just specify the timestamp directly in the URL. The fourth tag to talk about is priority tag. This optional tag that ostensibly tells search engines how important a page is relevant to your URL and the user's query on a scale between 0.0 to 0.01. That means when search engine bot searches your site, it is this tag that tells search engines that your content is more valuable to the user's query, so the search engine should rank you between 0.0 to 1.0 seconds on their landing or first page. Your website needs an XML sitemap, but not necessarily the priority and change frequency metadata. Actually, myself, I use the last mode tags accurately and focus my attention on ensuring that I have the right URLs to submit. The third step to talk about in this tutorial is the types of XML site maps. There are many types of XML site maps out there. Let's look at the few ones that has worked for me. Sitemaps have a couple of limitations. Here are the list two of them. A maximum of 50 URLs. You can only submit a maximum of 50 URLs to your webmaster tool. And another limitation is an uncompressed file size limit, which is 50 megabytes. Sitemaps can be compressed using gzip. This gzip is a file name, and it will change something in your XML URL as sitemap.xml.jz to save bandwidth for your server. But once this is unzipped, the sitemap still can't exceed 50 megabytes. Whenever you exceed 50 megabytes, you need to split your URLs across multiple XML site maps. Let's look at the type of XML sitemaps that we were talking about. The first type is XML Image Sitemap. Image sitemaps were designed to improve indexation of image contents. In modern day SEO, however, images are embedded within page contents already, so it won't be necessary to use image sitemaps as an URL to submit to your webmaster tool. But if your website is about stock photo or e-commerce, then it is necessary to add or use image XML sitemap. 2. XML Video Sitemap is the second type that we will be talking about. Similar to image sitemaps, if videos are critical to your business or your website, you need to submit an XML Video Sitemap. If not, it is not necessary to submit. The third sitemap is XML Sitemap. XML sitemaps take care of search engine needs. XML sitemaps were designed to assist human users to find content. The question becomes, if you have a good user experience and well-crafted internal links, do you still need an HTML sitemap? There is a big answer named yes. How? HTML sitemaps are generally linked in website footers, taking link equity from every single page of your site. Through this, Google search engine bots or other search engine bots can easily index your content and rank it on their website per user query. The next sitemap to talk about is Dynamic XML Sitemap. Dynamic XML sitemaps, on the other hand, are automatically updated by your server to reflect relevant website changes as they occur. Note, to create a dynamic URL sitemap, use a dynamic sitemap generator tool. You can find some of the sitemap generator tools in the description below. The next step is install a plugin for your CMS. Probably I'll recommend you to install Yoast CAO plugin for WordPress. Dynamic XML sitemaps and a sitemap index are modern best practices, and I recommend for you. This is what I used mostly. The last point to talk about in today's lesson is XML Sitemap best practice checklist. To practice XML sitemaps effectively, you need to invest time to include href language tags in XML sitemaps, and also include the location and last month tags, compress sitemap files using gzip, and also use sitemap index file. You need to dynamically generate XML sitemaps and also ensure URLs which are included only in a single page. Don't forget to reference sitemap index URLs in robots.txt and also submit sitemap index to both Google Search Console and Bing Webmaster Tools. Include only SEO relevant pages in sitemaps. Note, include only SEO relevant pages in XML sitemaps, and also fix all errors and warnings, and also analyze trends and types of valid pages. Now, per all these tips and tools that we used in boosting our SEO ranking using XML sitemaps, go on and check your own sitemap and make sure you are doing the thing right. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe. See you next time.